The 6th of March, 1880, in the garden of Major Petkoff's house. It is a fine spring morning, and the garden looks fresh and pretty. Paling the tops of a couple of minarets, can he see, showing that there is a valley there, with a little town in it. A few miles further, the Balkan mountains rise and shut in the view. Within the garden, the side of the house is seen on the right, with the garden door reached by a little flight of steps. On the left, the stable yard with its getaway encroaches on the garden. There are fruit bushes along the paling and house, covered with washing hung out to dry. A path runs by the house and rises by two steps at the corner where it turns out on the right along the front. In the middle of a small table with two bent wood chairs at it, it is laid for breakfast with the Turkish coffee pot, cups, rolls, etc. But the cups have been used and the bread broken. That wooden garden seat against the Louka, smoking a cigarette, is standing between the tables and the house, turning her back with angry disdain on a manservant who is lecturing her. He is a middle-aged man of cool temperament and low but clear and keen intelligence, with the complacency of the servant who values himself on his rank in servility and the imperturbability of the accurate calculator who has no illusions. He wears a white Bulgarian costume jacket with decorated harder sash, wide knickerbockers, and decorated gaiters. His head is shaved up to the crown, giving him a high Japanese forehead. His name is Nicola.
Be warned in time, Louka. Mend your manners. I know the mistress. She is so grand that she never dreams that any servant could dare to be disrespectful to her. But if once she suspects that you are defying her, out you go.
I do defy her. I will defy her. What do I care for her?
If you quarrel with the family, I never can marry you. It's the same as if you quarreled with me.
You take her part against me? Do you?
I shall always be dependent on the goodwill of the family. When I leave their service and start a shop in Sofia, their custom will be half my capital. The bad word could ruin me.
You've no spirit. I should like to see them dare say a word against me.
I should have expected more sense from you, Luca, but you're young. You're young.
Yes, and you like me the better for it, don't you? But I know some family secrets they wouldn't care to have told. Young as I am, let them quarrel with me if they dare.
Do you know what they would do if they heard you talk like that?
What could they do?
Discharge you for untruthfulness. Who would believe any stories who you told after that? Who would give you another situation? Who in this house would dare be seen speaking to you ever again? How long would your father be left on this little farm? Child, you don't know the power such high people have over the like of you and me when we try to rise out of our poverty against them. Look at me, 10 years in the service. Do you think I know no secrets? I know things about the mistress that she wouldn't have the master know for 1,000 levas. I know things about him that she wouldn't let him hear for the last of for 6 months if I blabbed them to her. I know things about Raina that would break off her match with Sergius if.
How do you know? I never told you.
So that's your little secret, is it? I thought it might be something like that. Well, you take my advice and be respectful. And make the mistress feel that no matter what you do or don't know, they can depend on you to hold your tongue and serve the family faithfully. That's what they like, and that's how you'll make the most of them.
You have the soul of a servant, Nicola.
Well, yes, that's the secret of success in service.
A loud knocking with a whip handle on a wooden door outside on the left is heard.
Hello. Hello there, Nicola.
Master, back from the war.
My word for it, Luca. The war's over. Off with you and get some fresh coffee.
He runs out into the stable yard. Luca, as she puts the coffee pot and the cups upon the tray and carries it into the house.
You'll never put the soul of a servant into me.
Major Petkoff comes from the stable yard, followed by Nicola. He's a cheerful, excitable, and significant, unpolished man of about 50, naturally unambitious, except as to his income and his importance in local society, but just now greatly pleased with the military rank which the war has thrust on him as a man of consequence in his town. The fever of plucky patriotism, which the Serbian attack roused in all the Bulgarians, has pulled him through the war, but he is obviously glad again. Petkov pointing to the table with his whip.
Breakfast out there, eh?
Yes, sir. The mistress and Miss Raina have just gone in.
Go in and say I've come and get me some fresh coffee.
It's coming, sir.
He goes to the house door. Louka, with fresh coffee, a clean cup, and a brandy bottle on her tray, meets him.
Have you told the mistress?
Yes, she's coming.
Nicola goes into the house. Louka brings the coffee to the table.
Well, the Serbians haven't run away with you, have they?
No, sir.
That's right. Have you brought me some cognac?
Here, sir.
That's right.
He pours some into his coffee. Catherine, who has at this early hour made only a very perfunctory toilet and wears a Bulgarian apron over a once brilliant but now half worn out red dressing gown, and a colored handkerchief tied over her thick black hair, with Turkish slippers on her bare feet, comes from the house looking astonishingly handsome and stately under all circumstances. Louka goes into the house.
My dear Paul, what a surprise for us. Have they brought you fresh coffee?
Yes, Luca's been looking after me. The war's over. The treaty was signed 3 days ago at Bucharest, and the decree for our army to demobilize was issued yesterday.
The war over? Paul, have you let the Austrians force you to make peace?
My dear, they didn't consult me. What could I? Of course, we saw to it that the treaty was an honorable one. It declares peace,
Peace?
but not friendly relations. Remember that. They wanted to put that in, but I insisted on its being struck out. What more could I do?
You could have annexed Serbia and made Prince Alexander Emperor of the Balkans. That's what I would have done.
I don't doubt it in the least, my dear. But I could have had to subdue the whole Austrian Empire first, and that would have kept me too long away from you. I missed you greatly.
Ah,
And how have you been, my dear?
oh, my usual sore throats, that's all.
That comes from washing your neck every day. I've often told you so.
Nonsense, Paul.
I don't believe in going too far with these modern customs. All this washing can't be good for the health. It's not natural. There was an Englishman at Philip Populus who used to wet himself all over with cold water every morning when he got up. Disgusting. It all comes from the English. Their climate makes them so dirty that they have to be perpetually washing themselves. Look at my father. He never had a bath in his life, and he lived to be 98, the healthiest man in Bulgaria. I don't mind a good wash once a week to keep up my position, but once a day is carrying the thing to do a ridiculous extreme.
You are a barbarian at heart still, Paul. I hope you behaved yourself before all those Russian officers.
I did my best. I took care to let them know that we had a library.
Ah, but you didn't tell them that we had an electric bell in it? I have had one put up.
What's an electric bell?
You touch a button, something tinkles in the kitchen, and then Nicola comes up.
I not shout for him.
Civilized people never shout for their servants. I've learned that while you were away.
Well, I'll tell you something I've learned too. Civilized people don't hang out their washing to dry where visitors can see it. So you'd better have all that put somewhere else.
Oh, that's absurd, Paul. I don't believe really refined people notice such things.
Someone is heard knocking at the stable gates.
That's Sergius. Hello, Nicola.
Oh, don't shout, Paul. It really isn't nice.
Nicola,
Yes, sir.
if that is Major Serenov, bring him round this way.
He pronounces the name with the stress on the second syllable, Saranov.
Yes, sir.
You must talk to him, my dear, until Raina takes him off our hands. He bores my life out about or are not promoted. Over my head, mind you.
He certainly ought to be promoted when he marries Raina. Besides, the country should insist on having at least one native general.
Yes, so that he could throw away whole brigades instead of regiments. It's no use, my dear. He has not the slightest chance of promotion until we are quite sure that the peace will be lasting.
Major Sergius Saranov.
He goes into the house and returns presently with a third chair, which he places at the table. He then withdraws. Major Sergius Saranov, the original portrait in Rena's room, is a tall, romantically handsome man with a physical hardy, the high spirit, and the susceptible imagination of an untamed mountaineer. But his remarkable personal distinction is of a characteristically civilized type. His eyebrows, curving with a ram's horn twist around the marked projections at the outer corners, his jealously observant eye, his nose, thin, keen, and apprehensive in spite of the pugnacious high bridge and large nostrils, his assertive chin would not be out of place in a Paris salon. In short, the clever, imaginative barbarian has an acute critical faculty, which has been thrown into intense activity by the arrival of Western civilizations in the Balkans, and the result is precisely what the advent of 19th century thought first produced in England, to wit, Byronism. By his brooding on the perpetual failure, not only of others but of himself, to live up to his imaginative ideals, his consequent cynical scorn of humanity, the genuine credulity as to the absolute validity of his ideals, and the unworthiness of the world in disregarding them, his wincings and mockeries under the sting of the petty delusions which every hour spent among men bring to his infallibly quick observation. He has acquired the half tragic, half ironic air, the mysteriousness, the suggestions of a strange and terrible history that has left him nothing but undone, by which Childe Harold, fascinated by the grandmothers of his English contemporaries. Altogether, it is clear that here or nowhere is Rena's ideal hero. Catherine is hardly less enthusiastic, and much less reserved in showing her enthusiasm. As he enters from the stable gate, she rises effusively to greet him. Petkoff is distinctly less disposed to make a fuss about him.
You're all ready, Sergius. Glad to see you.
My dear Sergius,
My dear mother, if I may call you so.
Mother-in-law, Sergius, mother-in-law. Sit down and have some coffee.
Thank you, none for me.
He gets away from the table with a certain distaste for Petkoff's enjoyment of it, and posts himself with conscious grace against the rail of the steps leading to the house.
you look superb, splendid. The campaign has improved you. Everybody here is mad about you. We were all wild with enthusiasm about that magnificent cavalry charge.
Madam, it was the cradle and the grave of my military reputation.
How so?
I won the battle the wrong way when our worthy Russian generals were losing it the right way. That upset their plans and wounded their self-esteem. Two of their colonels got their regiments driven back on the correct principles of scientific warfare. Two major generals got killed strictly according to military etiquette. Those two colonels are now major generals, and I am still a simple major.
You shall not remain so, Sergius. The women are on your side, and they will see that justice is done you.
It's too late. I've only waited for the peace to send in my resignation.
Your resignation?
Oh, you must withdraw it.
I never withdraw.
Now, who could have supposed you were going to do such a thing?
Everyone that knew me, but enough of myself and my affairs. How is Raina, and where is Raina?
Rena, suddenly coming round the corner of the house and standing at the top of the steps in the path.
Raina is here.
She makes a charming fit. I'll turn to look at her. She wears an underdress of pale green silk, draped with an overdress of thin ecru canvas, embroidered with gold. On her head, she was wearing a pretty Stygian cap of gold tinsel. Sergius, with an exclamation of pleasure, goes impulsively to meet her. She stretches out her hand. He drops chivalrously on one knee and kisses it. Petkoff, aside to Catherine, beaming with parental pride.
Pretty, isn't it? She always appears at the right moment.
Yes, she listens for it. It is an abominable habit.
Sergius leads Diana forward with splendid gallantry, as if she were a queen. When they come to the table, she turns to him with a bend of the head. He bows, and thus they separate, he coming to his place and she going behind her father's chair. Rena stooping and kissing her father. Rena stooping and kissing her father.
Dear father, welcome home.
Petkoff patting her cheek.
My little pet girl.
And so you're no longer a soldier, Sergius.
I'm no longer a soldier. Soldiering, my dear madam, is the coward's act of attacking mercilessly when you're strong and keeping out of harm's way when you're weak. That is the whole secret of successful fighting. Get your enemy at a disadvantage and never, on any account, fight him on equal terms. Eh, Major?
They wouldn't let us make a fair stand up fight of it all. However, I suppose soldiering has to be a trade like any other trade.
Precisely. But I have no ambition to succeed as a tradesman. So I've taken the advice of that bagman of a captain that settled the exchange of prisoners with us at Beirut and given it up.
What? That Swiss fellow? Sergius? I've often thought of that exchange since. He overreached us about those horses.
Of course, he overreached us. His father was a hotel and livery stable keeper, and he owed his first step to his knowledge of horse dealing. Ah, he was a soldier, every inch a soldier. If only I brought the horses for my regiment instead of foolishly leading it into danger. I should have been a field marshal now.
A Swiss? What was he doing in the Serbian army?
A volunteer, of course, keen on picking up his professions. We shouldn't have been able to begin fighting if these foreigners hadn't shown us how to do it. We knew nothing about it, and neither did the Serbians. Because there'd have been no war without them.
Are there many Swiss officers in the Serbian army?
No, no, all Austrians, just as our officers were all Russians. This was the only Swiss I came across. I'll never trust a Swiss again. He cheated us, humbugged us into giving him 50 able bodied men for 200 confounded, worn out chargers. They weren't even eatable.
We were two children in the hands of that consummate soldier, Major, simply two innocent children.
What was he like?
Oh, Raina, what a silly question.
He was like a commercial traveler in uniform, bourgeois to his boots.
Sergius, tell Catherine that queer story his friend told us about him, how he escaped after Slivnitsa. You remember? About his being hit by two women?
Oh, yes, quite a romance. He was serving in the very battery I so unprofessionally charged. Being a thorough soldier, he ran away like the rest of them, with our cavalry at his heels. To escape their attentions, he had the good taste to take refuge in the chamber of some patriotic young Bulgarian lady. The young lady was enchanted by his persuasive commercial traveler's manners. She very modestly entertained him for an hour or so, and then called in her mother, lest her conduct should appear unmaidenly. The old lady was equally fascinated, and the fugitive was sent on his way in the morning disguised in an old coat belonging to the master of the house, who was away at war.
Your life in the camp has made you coarse, Sergius. I did not think you would have repeated such a story before me.
She's right, Sergius. If such women exist, we should be spreading knowledge of them.
Nonsense. What does it matter?
No, Petkoff, I was wrong. I beg your pardon. I behaved abominably. Forgive me, Raina. And you too, madam. The, the glimpses I have had of the seamy side of life during the last few months have made me cynical, but I should not have brought my cynicism here, least of all in your presence, Raina. I
Turning to the others, he is evidently about to begin a long speech when the major interrupts him.
Stuff and nonsense, Sergius. That's quite enough fuss about nothing. A soldier's daughter should be able to stand up without flinching to a little strong conversation. Come, it's time for us to get a business. We have to make up our minds how those three regiments are to get back to Philippopolis. There's no forage for them on the Sofia route. So long.
Oh, Paul, can't you spare Sergius for a few moments? Raina has hardly seen him yet. Perhaps I can help you to settle about the regiment.
my dear madam, impossible.
You stay here, my dear Sergius. There's no hurry. I have a word or two to say to Paul. Now, dear, come and see the electric bell.
Oh, very well, very well.
They go into the house together, affectionately. Sergius, left alone with Rena, looks anxiously at her, fearing that she may still be offended. She smiles and stretches out her arm to him. Exit are into house, followed by Catherine. Sergius hastening to her, but refraining from touching her without express permission.
am I forgiven?
Rena placing her hands on his shoulder as she looks up at him with admiration and worship.
My hero, my king.
My queen.
He kisses her on the forehead with holy awe.
How have I envied you, Sergius? You have been out in the world, on the field of battle, able to prove yourself the worthy of any woman in the world, whilst I have had to sit at home inactive, dreaming, useless, did nothing that could give me the right to call myself worthy of any man.
Dearest, all my deeds have been yours. You inspired me. I've gone through the war like a knight in a tournament with his lady looking on at him.
And you have never been absent from my thoughts for a moment. Sergius, I think we too have found the higher love. When I think of you, I feel that I could never do a base deed or think an ignoble thought.
My lady and my saint.
My lord and my.
Shh. Let me be the worshipper, dear. You little know how unworthy even the best man is of a girl's pure passion.
I trust you. I love you. You will never disappoint me, Sergius.
Louka is heard singing within the house. They quickly release each other.
Hush! I can't pretend to talk indifferently before her. My heart is too full.
Louka comes from the house with her tray. She goes to the table and begins to clear it with her back turned to them.
I will go and get my hat, and then we can go out until lunchtime. Wouldn't you like that?
Be quick. If you're away 5 minutes, it will seem 5 hours.
Raina runs to the top of the steps and turns there to exchange a look and wave him a kiss. He looks after her with emotion for a moment, then turns slowly away, his face radiant with exultation of the scene which has just passed. The movement shifts his field of vision into the corner of which there now comes the tail of Luca's double apron. His eyes gleams at once. He stealthy look at her and begins to twirl his mustache nervously, with his left hand akimbo on his finally striking the ground with his heels in something of a cavalry swagger. He strolls over to the left of the table opposite her and says,
Luca, Do you know what the higher love is?
No, sir.
Very fatiguing thing to keep up for any length of time, Luca. One feels the need of some relief after it.
Perhaps you'd like some coffee, sir?
She stretches her hand across the table for the coffee pot.
Thank you, Luca.
Oh, sir, you know I did not mean that. I'm surprised at you.
Coming clear off the table and drawing her with him.
I'm surprised at myself, Luca. What would Sergius, the hero of Slivnitsa, say if he saw me now? What would Sergius, the apostle of higher love, say if he saw me now? What would the half dozen Sergiuses who keep popping in and out of this handsome figure of mine say if they got us here? Do you
Letting
consider
go
my
her
figure
hand,
Do you consider my figure handsome, Luca?
Let me go, sir. I shall be disgraced. Oh, will you let go?
No.
Then stand back where we can't be seen. Have you no common sense?
Ah, that's reasonable.
he takes her into the stable yard gateway, earlier hidden from the house.
I may have
Louka
been
complaining.
I may have been seen from the windows. Miss Raina is sure to be spying about after you.
Take
Sergius
care,
tongue letting her go.
take care, Luca. I may be worthless enough to betray the higher love, but do not you insult it.
Not for the world, sir, I'm sure. May I go on with my work, please, now?
You are provoking little witch, Luca. If you were in love with me, would you spy out of windows on me?
Well, you see, sir, since you say you are half a dozen different gentlemen all at once, I should have a great deal to look after.
Witty as well as pretty.
No, I don't want your kisses. Gentlefolk are all alike. You making love to me behind Miss Raina's back, and she doing the same behind yours.
Luca,
It shows how little you really care.
if our conversation is to continue, Luca, will you please remember that a gentleman does not discuss the conduct of a lady he is engaged to with her maid?
It's so hard to know what a gentleman considers right. I thought from your trying to kiss me that you had given up being so particular.
Sergius turning from her and striking his forehead as he comes back into the garden from the gateway.
Devil! Devil!
Haha! I expect one of the six of you is very like me, sir. So I am only Miss Raina's maid.
She goes back to her work at the table, taking no further notice of him. Sergius speaking to himself.
Which of these six is the real man? That's the question that torments me. One of them is a hero, another a buffoon, another a humbug, another perhaps a bit of a blackguard, and one, at least, is a coward, jealous, like all cowards. Luca,
Yes,
who is my rival?
you shall never get that out of me for love or money.
Why?
Never mind why. Besides, you would tell that I told you, and I should lose my place.
No, on the honor of a man capable of
He
behaving as
checks
I have been behaving for the last 5 minutes. Who is he?
I don't know. I never saw him. I only heard his voice through the door of a room.
Damnation! How dare you?
Oh, I mean no harm. You've no right to take up my words like that. The mistress knows all about it. And I tell you that if that gentleman ever comes home again, Miss Raina will marry him, whether he likes it or not. I know the difference between the sort of manner you and she put on before one another and the real manner.
Sergius shivers as then setting his face like iron. He strides grimly to her and grips her above the elbow with both hands.
Now you listen to me.
Not so tight. You're hurting me.
That doesn't matter. You stained my honor by making me party to your eavesdropping, and you betrayed your mistress.
Please.
That shows that you're an abominable little clod of a common clay with the soul of a serpent.
He lets her go as if she were an unclean thing and turns away, dusting his dust off her to the bench by the wall, where he sits down with averted head, meditating gloom. Louka whimpering angrily with her hands up her sleeve, feeling her bruised arms.
You know how to hurt with your tongue as well as your hands. But I don't care. Now I found out that whatever clay I'm made of, you're made of the same. As for her, she's a liar, and her fine airs are a cheat, and I'm worth six of her.
She shakes the pain off heartily, tosses her head, and sets to work to put the things on the tray. He looks doubtfully at her once or twice. She finishes packing the tray and laps the cloth over the edges so as to carry it all out together. As she stoops to lift it, he rises.
Luca,
She stops and looks defiantly at him with the tray in her hand.
a gentleman has no right to hurt a woman under any circumstances. I beg your pardon.
That sort of apology may satisfy a lady. Of what use it is to a servant?
Sergius, thus rudely crossed in his chivalry, throws it off with a bitter laugh and says slightingly,
Oh, you wish to be paid for the hurt.
he puts on his shako and takes some money from his pocket. Louka, her eyes filling with tears in spite of herself.
No, I want my herd made well.
How?
She picks up her left sleeve, clasps her arm with a thumb and the fingers of her right hand, and looks down at the blue. Then she raises her head and looks straight at him. Finally, with a superb gesture, she presents her arm to be kissed. Amazed, he looks at the arm, at her again, hesitates, and with shuddering intensity exclaims,
Never.
and gets away as far as possible from him. Her arm drops without a word and with unaffected dignity. She takes her tray and is approaching the house and returns wearing a hat and jacket in the height of the wind in previous years. Luca makes her way proudly for her and then goes to the house.
I'm ready. What's the matter? Have you been flirting with Luca?
No, no, how could you think such a thing?
Forgive me, dear. It was only a jest. I'm so happy today.
He goes quickly to her and kisses her hand remorsefully. Catherine comes out and calls to them from the top of the steps.
I'm sorry to disturb you, children, but Paul is distracted over those three regiments. He does not know how to get them to Philippopolis, and he objects to every suggestion of mine. You must go and help him, Sergius. He's in the library.
But we are just going out for a walk.
I shall not be long. Wait for me just 5 minutes.
I shall go around
He
and
runs up the
wait
steps to
in
the door.
I shall go around and wait in full view of the library windows. Be sure you draw father's attention to me. If you are a moment longer than 5 minutes, I shall go in and fetch you. Regiments or no regiments.
Very well.
He goes in. Raina watches him until he is out of her right. Then, with a perceptible relaxation of manner, she begins to pace up and down about the garden in a brown study.
Imagine them meeting that Swiss and hearing the whole story. The very first thing your father asked for was the old coat we sent him off in. A nice mess you've gotten us into.
The little beast.
Little beast? What little beast?
To go and tell. Oh, if I had him here, I'd stuff him with chocolate creams till he couldn't speak ever again.
Don't talk nonsense. Tell me the truth, Raina. How long was he in your room before you came to me?
Oh, I forget.
You cannot forget. Did he really climb up after the soldiers were gone, or was he there when the officer searched the room?
No. Yes, I think he must have been there then.
You think? Oh, Raina, Raina, will anything ever make you straightforward? If Sergius finds out, it is all over between you.
Oh, I know Sergius is your pet. I sometimes wish you could marry him instead of me. You would just suit him. You would pet him and spoil him and mother him to perfection.
Well, upon my word.
I always feel a longing to do or say something dreadful to him, to shock his propriety, to scandalize the five senses out of him. I don't care what he finds out about the chocolate cream soldier or not. I half hope he may.
And what should I be able to say to your father, pray?
Oh, poor father, as if he could help himself.
Oh, if you were only 10 years younger. Well,
There's a gentleman just called, madam. A Servian officer.
a Servian? How dare he? Oh, I forgot. We're at peace now. I suppose we shall have them calling every day to pay their compliments. Well, if he is an officer, why don't you tell your master? He's in the library with Major Saranov. Why'd you come to me?
But he asks for you, madam. And I don't think he knows who you are. He said the lady of the house. He gave me this little ticket for you.
Captain Bluntschli. That's a German name.
Swiss, madam, I think.
Swiss. What is he like?
He has a big carpet bag, madam.
Oh heavens, he's come to return the coat. Send him away. Say we're not at home. Ask him to leave his address and I'll write to him. Oh, stop, that will never do. Wait, the master and Major Saranov are busy in the library, aren't they?
Yes, madam.
Bring the gentleman out here at once and be very polite to him. Don't delay. Here, leave that here and go straight to him.
Yes, madam.
Louka,
Yes, madam.
is the library door shut?
I think so, madam.
If not, shut it as you pass through.
Yes, madam.
Stop. He will have to go out that way. Tell Nicola to bring his bag here after him. Don't forget.
This bag?
Yes, here, as soon as possible. Be quick.
Luca runs into the house. Catherine snatches her apron off and throws it behind a bush. She then takes up the salver and uses it as a mirror, with the result that the handkerchief tied around her head follows the apron. A touch to her hair and a shake to her dressing gown makes her presentable.
Oh, how can a man be such a fool? Such a moment to select.
Luca appears at the door of the house, announcing Captain Shelley, and standing aside at the top of the steps to let him pass before she goes in again. He is the man of the adventure in Rena's room. He is now clean, well brushed, smart uniform, but still unmistakably the same man. The moment Luca's back is turned, since her urgent, go Captain, I am very glad to see you, but you must leave this house at once. He raises his eyebrows.
My husband has just returned with my future son in law, and they know nothing. If they did, the consequences would be terrible. You're a foreigner. You do not feel our national animosities as we do. We still hate the Serbians. The only effect of the peace on my husband is to make him feel like a lion balked of his prey. If he discovered our secret, he would never forgive me, and my daughter's life would hardly be safe. Will you, like the chivalrous gentleman and soldier you are, leave it once before he finds you here?
At once, gracious lady. I only came to thank you and return the coat you lent me. If you will allow me to take it out of my bag and leave it with your servant as I pass out, I need detain you no further.
Oh, you must not think of going back that way. This is the shortest way out. Many thanks. So glad to have serviced you. Goodbye.
But my bag.
It will be sent on. You will leave me your address.
Allow me.
He takes out his card case and stops to write his address, keeping Catherine in an agony of impatience. As he hands her the card, Petkoff, hatless, rushes from the house in a fluster of hospitality, followed by Sergius.
My dear Captain Bluntschli,
Oh heavens.
She sinks onto his seat against the wall. Petkoff, too preoccupied to notice her, he shakes Bluntschli's hand heartily.
those stupid people of mine thought I was out here instead of in the library. I saw you through the window. I was wondering why you didn't come in. Chernoff is with me. You remember him, don't you?
Welcome, our friend the enemy.
No longer the enemy, happily. I hope you've come as a friend and not on business.
Oh, quite as a friend, Paul. I was just asking Captain Bluntschli to stay for lunch, but he declares he must go at once.
Possible,
Him,
Bluntschli. We want you here badly. We have to send on 3 cavalry regiments to Philippopolis, and we don't want in the least know how to do it.
Philippopolis. Philippopolis. The forest is in trouble, eh?
That's it. He sees the whole thing at once.
I think I can show you how to manage that.
invaluable man. Come along.
Towering over Bluntschli, he puts his hand on his shoulder and takes him to the steps, Petkoff following. As Captain puts his foot on the first step, Raina comes out of the house.
Oh, the chocolate cream soldier.
Captain stands rigid. Sergius, amazed, looks at Raina, then at Petkoff, who looks back at him and then at his wife.
My dear Raina, don't you see that we have a guest here? Captain Bluntschli, one of our new Serbian friends?
How silly
Raina
of me.
bows. She comes
I
down to the
made
center of the group.
I made a beautiful ornament this morning for the ice pudding, and that stupid Nicola has just put down a pile of plates on it and spoiled it. I hope you didn't think that you were the chocolate cream soldier, Captain Bluntschli.
I assure you I did. Your explanation was a relief.
And since when, pray, have you taken to cooking?
Oh, whilst you were away, it is her latest fancy.
And
Petkoff
has
stretches.
Nicola taken to drinking? He used to be careful enough. First he shows Captain Bluntschli out of here, when he knew quite well I was in the library, and then he goes downstairs and drinks Rena's chocolate soldier. He must.
At this moment, Nicola appears at the top of the steps, armed with a carpet bag. He descends, places it respectfully before Bluntschli, and waits for further orders. General amazement. Nicola, unconscious of the effect he's producing, looks perfectly satisfied with himself. When Petkoff recovers his power of speech, he breaks out to him with,
Are you mad, Nicola?
Sir,
What have you bought that for?
my lady's orders, sir. Louka told me that.
My orders? Why should I order you to bring Captain Bluntschli's luggage out here? What are you thinking of, Nicola?
after a moment's bewilderment, picking up the bag as he addresses Bluntschli with the very perfection of servile discretion.
I beg your pardon, sir. I am sure. My fault, madam. I hope you'll overlook it.
He bows and is going to the steps with the bag when Petkoff addresses him angrily.
You'd better go and slam that bag down too. Down on Miss Rena's ice pudding. Be gone, you butterfingered donkey.
Yes,
This is
sir.
too much for Nicola. The bag drops from his hands on Petkoff's corns, eliciting a roar of anguish from him.
Be gone, you butterfingered donkey.
Yes, sir.
Never mind, Paul, don't be angry.
Scoundrel! He's got out of hand while I was away. I'll teach him. Oh, well, never mind. Come, Bluntschli. Let's have no more nonsense about you having to go away. You know very well you're not going back to Switzerland yet. Until you do go back, you'll stay with us.
Oh, do, Captain Bluntschli.
Now, Catherine, it's of you that he's afraid. Press him and he'll stay.
Of course, I shall be only too delighted if Captain Bluntschli really wishes to stay. He knows my wishes.
I am at Madam's orders.
That second bit. Of course.
You see, you must stay.
Well, if I must, I must.
Gesture of despair from Catherine.